Hi everybody. I'm just doing a quick message for parents as we are rapidly hurtling towards going back in September. So I'd like to say welcome back to all our old families and hello to all our new families. We're going to be very, very busy in September. And I just wanted to run through how things are going to work because we're still not yet in a place where we feel as a preschool we can run in a normal way. And our priority is keeping everyone safe. And at the moment, with these spikes happening and things like this, we've decided to try and run along the lines that we were running in the summer when we came back with the older children. So I just wanted to run through with you how things are going to work and reassure you that things will be safe and give you some idea of how things are going to work. You will be getting lots of paperwork put on the Facebook page and being asked to sign things, but I thought a personal message might be nice as well. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Judy, I'm the lead manager, and at the moment we're operating with a team of 6, which is very reduced because some of our older staff will not be returning at the present time, certainly because of shielding factors and things like that. So for them the risk is too high to come and work with little children. So we've redone our risk assessment, and during the summer we ran with what was called a bubble, and our bubble was a maximum of 15 children. These very small children cannot socially isolate. It's not appropriate for them to have staff with face masks on, etc., because they need to see our mouths move when we speak. They read our body language. They need to know that we're smiley and happy. And so when we work without any social isolation at all. The staff don't isolate, the children don't isolate. That's once they're in through the gate or through the door. So we've redone our risk assessment because in September when we come back, we will be coming back with a whole group, which means there could be 26 of us on any given day, 26 children that is. So on the first week back, we're aiming to get back the existing children, the children who would have been in our sessions during the summer had it not been for the need for us to have this bubble regulation. There might be 1 or 2 older children who have just started, some of the 4-year-olds who will be invited in that first week as well. But that first week is going to be very much about settling back children who were used to coming in into the routine of what's happening and getting them and the parents used to the new routine. The second week we will be starting all the new children, the younger children, and hopefully by then the older ones will be settled into their routine, know what's going on, and then we can spend as much time as possible with the new little children, getting them settled, because unfortunately at this time parents are still not allowed in the setting. So they're not allowed in the hall and they're not allowed to come into the play area where all the children are. So that means that if you've got a child who's a little bit unsettled, you have to, as a parent, make a decision about whether you're going to leave them and allow the staff to try and settle the child, or whether you take them away for half an hour to allow everybody else to come in, and then see if you can bring them back having settled them a little later yourself, or whether you decide that actually we won't come in today because they had a bad night and they're very upset and tired and grousy, and the stress caused by dropping them off might be less good for them. So we are staggering our arrivals. So our first group of parents will come in at 9 o'clock and our last group of parents will come in at 9:30. We're doing 5-minute slot times, and it roughly equates to 4 parents bringing their children and getting their children in every 5 minutes. We are intending to have you come down the side, which is what we were doing during the summer. So as you look at the front of the hall, where you would normally all come in through the front door, that's a bottleneck. And so what we've been doing is using the side passage to the left-hand side of the building. There's a little footpath, and it's got social distance footmarks on the floor. And you go down, and right at the very bottom there is a hand sanitizing station. So the first parent in that queue stops at that point, and we would ask others to queue at a distance behind. At that point we have an area which is our downstairs bathroom area, which we call our red zone. And we have somebody in that zone all week who is responsible for taking children to the bathroom, washing hands and checking them over when they arrive to make sure that they're healthy and safe. So when you're standing at the hand sanitizing point, we would ask that you sanitize your hands, that you that your child will be called for by the member of staff who's in the red zone. And they will then take your child into the bathroom area and they will wash their hands. We will ask that you parents leave. On the left hand side there is some steps which take you up to the car park in the doctor's surgery. We have been asked to by the government to say that they are encouraging as many people as possible to walk, if they can, to their educational settings, because walking is a much healthier way of getting your children to school and preschool. And we know that this particular disease at the moment affects people with lower levels of health. So if you can walk, please do. We do appreciate that some of our families come from a distance and are not able to walk. And we would ask you if you can therefore park your car away from the front of the preschool, please. The reason for this is that we need to keep the front area free for any queue which might be tailing round, and when we go back in September that is a likely scenario. Didn't happen so much during the summer because we only had 15 to get in, but when we come back we've got 26 to get in, so it is possible that queue might snake round the front. So for everybody's safety's sake, please don't park out the front. There will be cars out the front, they will be staff cars, but they will be parked away from the front door area. So if you're sending your child in, we want no bags We want the child, appropriate clothing for the weather and a coat. No bags. We will be providing nappies for the children who need nappies. But the less that we have coming into the setting from outside, the less risk there is of us bringing in an infection from outside. If your child is not well in any way, shape or form, please do not bring them to preschool. We need you to telephone the mobile number. The mobile goes on at 8:30 every morning. So please telephone the mobile number and inform us if your child is not coming in. Let us know whether that's because you've just decided to have a family day and go somewhere nice like Legoland, or whether it's because they're unwell. If they're unwell, we will need you to tell us what their illness is. We will be asking you all to sign the agreements for the rules when we go back, and we do have to notify Track and Trace, Ofsted, the local authority, the local health authority and the local parish council if we have a child who exhibits a cough, a high temperature, a rash or any other symptom that might be linked to COVID. And if a child exhibits any of those symptoms, they are not allowed into our preschool for a period of 14 days, unless you can provide us with a negative COVID test for that child. And all children now are eligible for testing, there are links on the page to who to phone to find out where you need to go for testing and how the testing will be completed. But for our health of all the children, all of our families and all of our staff, we will be very hard on this. We will not have children in who are unwell. And part of that reason is that, as well as having staff members who have vulnerable people at home, we also have children who have some serious medical issues, which means that if they were to pick up something, they might be more at risk. Although the risk, it appears, of children picking up COVID is very tiny, but what is uncertain at the moment is whether they can spread it and the impact that that might have. And the data on this is difficult to work out because, of course, the children haven't really been in larger social settings such as schools and preschools since March. So for our risk assessment purposes, we have simply said if your child's not well, they don't come in. If they have a cough, a fever or a rash, they don't come in for 14 days unless you provide us with a negative COVID test. That's just unfortunately the way things have to run for the time being, and that is hopefully how we will manage to keep any risks to an absolute minimum, and that hopefully will provide you parents with the assurance that your children will be safe coming back to preschool. It is possible with such a small team that if we have 3 members of staff who go down with a cough or a high fever or COVID symptoms, that we might not be able to open at very short notice. So we do ask that you keep an eye on the Facebook page every morning, because that is our central hub for communication. The reason for that is that any of our staff members can post the messages on there rather than having one person. I mean, I have access to all the telephone numbers and all the emails, but if I was to become very unwell and I am classified due to age, etc., as being in a vulnerable group myself, so I'm extra at risk, if I was to go down with something, then it means that the chain of communication can continue, even though the other staff perhaps don't have access to your emails and your telephone numbers. So the Facebook page is central to our communicating any daily changes or staff levels. For example, back during our summer bubble, there were a couple of days when we actually had to use the front door because there was a drainage issue down the side passage, and we couldn't safely have children going in through that area. So that was very short notice. I was advised of that on a Friday evening, and I had to let everybody know over the weekend, and we did that via the Facebook page. There will also be a big whiteboard outside keeping you updated with what goes on. The biggest issue that we have experienced is parents not turning up in their time slots. With trying to get 26 in, it is vital that you stick to your time slot. If you think you're going to be late or you need to be a bit earlier, if you can give us a call on the mobile number to let us know, and then we can make arrangements and sort of just confirm whether that's okay. But we did have a situation last year where 2 parents turned up early to collect their children. One parent had been asked to sit and just wait because we'd got children in the bathroom. And then another parent walked past, which obviously compromised the 2-metre rule. So that is, as far as we're concerned, your biggest, the biggest thing we need to ask you to do is to ensure that your children are well when you bring them in, and not to be dosing them with Calpol so that they can come in. Because that's not, if we smell Calpol on a child, we will be ringing track and trace. Also to keep to your time slots. We will be outdoors as much as possible, although we can now use the hall. It is still best practice from our guidance to be outdoors as much as possible. These germs spread far less outdoors. We have hand washing facilities and sanitizing points in the garden. Freddie's dad made us a lovely little hand wash station, so we have that in the garden, and we also access the toilets and bathrooms downstairs, so we use that as much as possible. Obviously, if the weather is very, very poor, then we will go inside. We will probably run our lunch clubs inside. So yes, lunch clubs will still be running for those who have been invited. And this is a trial and error. During the summer bubble, we decided that lunch club was not appropriate, but we are giving it a try with a small number of children to start with. And we will see how that goes. If it works and we feel it's safe and the risk is being managed appropriately, then it might be that we will start inviting more children to join the lunch club. but at present we have just limited it to a small group of children who were already attending, to see how we can work, because obviously you will be bringing lunches in from home. That is a risk factor, so that is something that we are monitoring, and it might well be at some point that we say no, this isn't working, or it might be that we say yeah, this is working okay, and we can invite more children as we go. Fees. Those of you who paid fees for the last term that we were operating normally, obviously probably paid for a couple of weeks that you weren't in. So we will be adjusting your fees in the autumn, and so that you do not lose out. But likewise, if you're one of our families who didn't pay your fees because our invoice date was after the point of shutdown, then we would ask that you please pay the fees that you were due to pay for the times that you did use. Obviously, we are a charity and we have incurred some huge fees regarding PPE. So for example, a box of gloves which used to cost me about £7 is now costing me at least double that. The plastic aprons we use for nappy changing and kitchen use used to cost me a couple of pounds, £2-3 for 100 aprons. I'm now paying 10 times as much for those. We're obviously using hand sanitizer, antibacterial wipes, disinfectant, etc. at a much higher rate than we were using before. So our costs have gone through the roof, so I would ask that if you do owe us fees, please do pay them. So yeah, well, you know, that is just, I leave that to your conscience really on that matter. So when we go back, we are still not able to have any cushions, we're not able to have any soft toys, we're not able to use the large sitting sand pit, although we will be using our small sand pit, but again we will be seeing how that goes. If we have children who put sand in their mouths or start to you know, be inappropriate with it, it might be that the sand can't be out. Although with very small children, sand is something that we like to play with. We will have our wonderful new mud kitchen, which I will be posting some pictures of soon. So I will also be asking you in the first week to consider whether you want to take your children's work home. So we will be doing painting and gluing. So again, their clothes that they wear outside are going to get muddy and painty and wet. Don't send them in their new clothes, send them in old clothes. Coats will get covered as well, so please don't send them in their really nice clothing. Send them in some old things. We make no judgments on what your children are wearing. We would rather them be happy and playing and in fresh, clean clothes than worrying about where their clothes were bought or etc. But obviously, if your child has done a painting or a sticking or made something out of twigs and wool, you will have to decide whether you're happy taking that home. Anything that we have in from outside, we have to quarantine for 72 hours. So we will, if your child has an accident and needs a change of clothes, we do have spare clothes. And so likewise, if they have a dirty nappy, we will bag the nappy up and put it in a carrier bag for you to take home. If they take home a set of clothing, we need you to wash that for us and return it. Doesn't have to be returned immediately, but if you can, return it as soon as possible. And we then have to quarantine those clothes for 72 hours before they can go in our clothes bank. When you come to collect your children, you will be coming again down the left-hand side, and you will be asked to come in one at a time in through the green gate. Your child will be passed down to you. You will then follow the path round the back of the building and exit through the right-hand pathway. But we will guide you through that when you come for your first weeks, so that you get the idea. But the idea is that you as parents can be socially distant, and that you do not have to walk past each other. So we ask you to space out. We call you one at a time. You leave one at a time, and then when that parent has left, we call the next parent in. So that again needs to work as smoothly as possible. It does mean that we staff also can't do the type of personal handover that we would normally do. We will obviously inform you as to how your child's been, but it won't be a face-to-face close contact. It will just be a quick discussion with you, because we need you to leave as quickly as possible so that we can get the next family in. Obviously, if your drop-off time is 9 o'clock, your collection time is 12 o'clock, because the session is 3 hours. If your drop-off time is 9:30, your collection time is 12:30. So it is imperative that those times are stuck to. Our bathroom area, the red zone, closes at 12 o'clock. Children will not be able to access the bathroom after that time. So when you come and collect your child, they will not be able to use the toilet. And that is because we have to go into our cleaning procedure. We have to vacate the premises by 12:30. So the person in the red zone at that point is cleaning the toilets, sanitizing the area, washing the floor with bleach, cleaning any touch points, and likewise in the garden there will be staff who are already beginning to clean down touch points on the gazebos. Every toy that we've played with is sterilised either in Milton, being dunked in Milton, or using disinfectant spray, etc. This is all extra work that we don't normally do, which we have to fit into our time frame. So please, if your collection time is 12:30, we need you to be prompt. We can't have any late collections or early collections. And obviously the people who are collecting on lunch club days, your collection time on lunch club days is 1:15, and that will be again sort of set in stone. Obviously, if you know that you're going to be late for any reason, you can ring us, and it might be that we have to stand outside the front of the door with your child outside, because, as I say, we have to be out of the premises by 12:30. So sorry it's a bit long and rambling, but I hope that that gives you some idea what's going on. as a team, we found that when we came back during the summer, initially we were like, oh, this is all very scary. But the children settled really quickly and really easily. And this appears to be the evidence across the board that the children are very resilient. They actually love being back. This part, the reason why we've decided to use the garden entrance again is also that we found it settled the children much quicker to go straight back out into that garden area rather than trying to get them in through the front door. Being outside in the fresh air, it just calms them. They've got room to move, and these children have been, you know, enclosed and sort of had their lives dictated to in a way that children have never been before experienced. So we expect them to be a little feral when they come back, to go a bit bananas for the first few weeks. That's absolutely to be expected. And then we found during the summer they settle down, they start getting their play and their learning re-established. And we had some wonderful learning during the summer, and I think we will do the same in the autumn. So I'm not back the first week because I'm hopefully on holiday. I'm not going anywhere exotic, just down to Cornwall. So I'm hoping that you won't see me, but Elisa and Ruth and Lorraine and Maria and Michelle will all be there. We're not sure yet whether Stuart will be back with us, but we will all be back in the autumn and see you. Lovely smiley faces. And as I always say, if at any time you've got any problems, you know where we are. Email, message. But obviously that first week I won't be there, so you'll need to speak to Elisa or one of the other ladies in the team. And I do need those COVID agreements back before you start. We have to have our track and trace system in place before you start. You cannot turn up on the Tuesday morning with your little bit of paper, your agreement. We have to have that beforehand in our COVID file, so that if we have a child who is unwell, we have our systems in place for that. So please make sure you sign that parental agreement, photo it, email it, however you get it to me quickly, and let me know your time slot as well as quickly as possible. The 9 o'clock time slots have all gone, the 9:15 time slots have all gone, and the 9:30 time slots have all gone. So you will be asked to choose a time slot that suits you, and if we can, we will accommodate it. Yeah, so looking forward to September. Got lots of fun ideas planned, and obviously working within the rules and as safely as we can. We are hoping to have happy children who are shooting up in their learning, and hopefully see you then. Bye.